Have you ever stopped to think that while you're spending money trying to live in the moment, there are people preparing to never depend on anyone again? While millions are struggling, a silent minority is building wealth from generation to generation without drawing attention to themselves. And the scariest part? They don't win the lottery. They aren't lucky. They follow a lifestyle that most people ignore, and that's why most people stay poor. Today, you're going to discover what the Jewish community does differently, and why, if you don't change the way you handle money now, you could spend your whole life working and still end up with nothing. When we talk about wealth, most people immediately think of money. But in Jewish culture, money is a consequence, not the starting point. The foundation of everything is education. From a very young age, Jewish children learn the value of studying, discipline, and wisdom. Knowledge comes before money because they know those who have knowledge create wealth sustainably. While many families teach their children to save, Jews teach them to understand money, what its role is, how it circulates, how it grows, and most importantly, how it should be used strategically. They don't see money as something emotional, but as a tool. Financial coldness and clarity are taught at home, in everyday life. And we're not just talking about math or spreadsheets. Jewish financial education is linked to values and principles such as responsibility, generosity, legacy, and emotional intelligence. They learn early on that mismanaged money destroys families, while well-cared-for money builds generations. There's a popular saying among Jews that goes, if you give a child money without first giving them wisdom, you're giving them a loaded weapon. Powerful, right? This shows how they prioritize internal content before the external. That's why it's no coincidence that many Jews thrive in different areas, because they've been trained to think, analyze, decide calmly, not to react on impulse. Another interesting point is that, for them, making mistakes is part of learning. Instead of hiding financial mistakes, they discuss them openly, learn from them, and teach the younger ones not to repeat them. The culture of failure is a taboo doesn't exist. They prefer to fail early, learn quickly, and move forward with more maturity. This educational foundation creates young people who, upon reaching adulthood, already know how to handle money better than many people with years of experience. They don't wait for life to teach them. They arrive prepared. And this advantage makes up the first layer of the silent wealth they build throughout their lives. While many people only think about money when they're in a tight spot, Jews already have a plan, goals, and a long-term vision. They don't chase wealth, they walk towards it calmly and consistently. And it all starts with this foundation: knowledge applied from an early age. If you really want to change your financial life, maybe the first question shouldn't be, how much do I earn? But rather, how much do I know about money? Because in the end, it's not the amount in the account that protects you. It's what you know how to do with it. When you hear the word frugality, what comes to mind? Many people associate it with the idea of being stingy, living poorly, giving up comfort. But in Jewish culture, frugality isn't a sign of scarcity. It's a sign of wisdom. They know that the secret isn't in appearing rich, but in being rich without appearing to be. While many people spend to show status, new car, designer clothes, expensive dinners, Jews prefer to live below the standard they could afford. This doesn't mean living poorly, but living in balance. They understand that money spent on appearances is money that doesn't generate a return, and money without a return is a lost opportunity. There's a very strong teaching within the Jewish tradition that says, it's not the man who should serve money, but money that should serve the man. This shows the difference in mentality. Money doesn't control their lives. It's controlled, directed, saved. There's no impulse buying. There's consumption with purpose. Frugality for them is having clarity about what's essential and what's vanity. It's knowing how to spend on what really matters and not falling into the trap of living a life that isn't sustainable. They prefer to have freedom in the future than fleeting pleasure in the present. And this, in the long run, makes a huge difference in the accumulation of wealth. One of the most interesting points is that, even when they prosper, many Jews maintain the same simple habits. They continue to live in traditional neighborhoods, drive discreet cars, live modestly. Because they know the more you flaunt, the more you become a slave to your image. And this takes the focus away from what really matters, growing with stability. This conscious frugality allows them to save more, invest better, and always be ready for opportunities. While many are in debt, they have cash. While some live on the edge, they live with a surplus. And a surplus in the world of investments is fuel to grow. It's important to say, frugality isn't living in misery. It's living intelligently. It's making money work. It's saying no to what doesn't add value, to say yes to what really builds. And this is a daily choice. A choice that separates those who live from paycheck to paycheck from those who build real wealth. So the next time they call you economical or tight-fisted, remember, the wisest in history became rich precisely because they didn't spend like others. And it's better to be called simple now than to be forced to live in simplicity in the future, because there's nothing left. It may seem contradictory, but one of the most important practices in Jewish culture when it comes to money is donation. Yes, donate. Even among the richest, there's a principle that crosses generations, allocating at least 10% of income to charity. This practice is called tzedakah, and it goes far beyond a gesture of kindness. It has a strategic and spiritual role in how Jews handle money. Tzedakah is seen not as an option, but as a duty. The act of donating, in the Jewish view, is a way to maintain humility, to recognize that the money you have isn't just yours, but a tool to improve the world around you. And this completely changes the relationship with wealth. The most curious thing is that, even when donating, they don't see it as a loss. On the contrary, they believe that donation opens paths to more prosperity. It's as if the money that circulates comes back multiplied. And although this may sound mystical to some, there's a very practical logic behind it. Generosity creates an environment where everyone thrives. People who donate frequently develop a mentality of abundance, not scarcity. They don't live in fear of losing, but with confidence that they can generate more. This directly affects how they make decisions, take calculated risks, and seek opportunities. And as a result, they grow more financially. In addition, the practice of charity strengthens the community as a whole. Many Jews, by helping each other financially, create a powerful support network where one helps the other to get up, start a business, recover, or study. This creates a cycle of collective prosperity, not just individual, and this is one of the great silent secrets of the wealth of many Jewish families. No one grows alone. And don't think that donating is only for those who have a lot. The practice of tzedakah starts early, even with children. Even with little, the idea is, if you've learned to separate 10% when you have little, you'll do it naturally when you have a lot. It's a habit of discipline and purpose, more than a matter of value. This attitude also protects against pride and consumerism. By donating, you reconnect with reality and remember that money is a means, not an end. And as a result, you tend to make more conscious, more balanced financial choices, which further reinforces the construction of wealth. In other words, the cycle is clear. You earn, donate, feel grateful, think better, grow more. And this movement repeats itself, strengthens itself, multiplies. Charity in Jewish culture isn't just a nice gesture, it's part of the architecture of wealth. If there's one thing that Jewish culture values highly, it's financial independence. And not in the sense of getting rich quickly, but of not depending on a single source of income. That's why entrepreneurship is so present in the history of Jewish families. It's not just a choice, but often a value passed down from generation to generation. From an early age, children are encouraged to think with an owner's mentality. Sell, negotiate, calculate, understand the value of their own time and effort. This shapes a way of thinking very different from those who grow up only with the model. Study, get a job, retire. For Jews, having their own business or investing in other businesses is the natural path. And along with this entrepreneurial mindset comes a very powerful principle. Diversification. Jews don't usually put all their eggs in one basket. They invest in different areas, different countries, different types of assets. This reduces risks and increases the chances of success in the long run. If one source of income stops, others continue to work, and this gives an absurd security. While many are at the mercy of a single salary, they have income from companies, real estate, investments, and partnerships. This guarantees not only stability, but also flexibility to take advantage of new opportunities when they arise. A very common example is that of Jewish families who have small businesses, bakeries, shops, local businesses, but also invest in funds, stocks, real estate, and even startups. Even if they start small, the logic is clear. The money that comes in needs to work in more than one place. This model of thinking also avoids a common mistake: betting everything on one idea. How many times have you seen someone break because they put all their chips in a single business? In the Jewish mindset, if something goes wrong, the other investments hold the base. They don't play to lose, they play to last. And here's a powerful lesson. You don't need to have a lot of money to diversify. You can start with little, applying to different types of assets. You can have a fixed income here, a real estate fund there, and extra income with a service or product. The important thing is to never depend on a single source, because if it dries up, you sink together. So, if you want to build something solid, start thinking like them. Instead of just working for money, create ways to make money work for you, on several fronts at the same time. Because entrepreneurship and diversification, in the Jewish view, isn't a luxury, it's a protection, it's a legacy. While many people think about getting rich to enjoy life or retire early, Jews think differently. In the Jewish mindset, the focus has never been just on making money. The goal is to build something that lasts for generations. They don't think about the now. They think about their children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. This completely changes the way they handle money. They don't just want to conquer wealth, they want wealth to never leave the family again. And for that, they create systems, habits, and internal rules that help keep the wealth circulating, growing, and being respected. Each generation takes care of the next, as if passing an invisible baton. This starts with open conversations about money. They don't hide the financial reality from their children. On the contrary, they teach from an early age how money works, how to invest, how to take care of it. The next generation is prepared, not pampered. The legacy isn't just financial, it's behavioral. In addition, there's a very strong awareness that money without values destroys. Therefore, ethical and spiritual teaching goes hand in hand with the financial. The focus isn't just on leaving an inheritance, but on leaving an example. Because a fortune can end in months, but a right mindset can generate eternal wealth. There's a phrase that's often repeated among Jewish families. It's not about leaving money for the children. It's about leaving children who know how to multiply the money. That's the real inheritance. That's why they don't live just for consumption. They live to keep a story alive. This thinking is also reflected in present decisions. They avoid unnecessary risks, make choices calmly, and always think about the long-term impact. If a decision today can compromise the future of the family, they simply don't make it. It's the logic of conscious sacrifice, giving up pleasures now for lasting stability later on. And here's the provocation. Are you building just for yourself or for something bigger? Because when we change the question, the answer changes too. If your motivation is to leave a legacy, your financial decisions automatically go up a level. In the end, the Jewish mindset teaches that true wealth isn't what you accumulate, but what you teach. Because the money runs out, but the knowledge, the discipline, and the long-term vision continue to work even after you're gone. After all this, it's clear that Jews didn't get rich by chance. They don't follow magic formulas, they don't live to flaunt, and they don't rely on luck. They follow ancient principles that anyone can apply: education, frugality, donation, entrepreneurship, and legacy vision. While many live on autopilot, they build wealth with intention. And perhaps that's the biggest lesson. It's not about earning more. It's about thinking better. If you really want to change your financial life, start by looking inward. Change. your mindset, your habits, and your daily decisions. And most importantly, don't wait to get rich to act like someone who builds wealth. The journey starts with the first step, and you can take that step today. If this video made you reflect, leave a like, because that helps me a lot to continue bringing this type of content to you. Subscribe to the channel and activate the little bell, because here we talk about money in a clear, real way that works in practice. And look, there's a video appearing here on the screen now, where I show you how Arabs build silent fortunes with a strategy that even Warren Buffett respects. Click there to continue learning and further strengthen your financial mindset. A big hug, success to you, and until the next video.